Well, recently I have finished my 7-phase, 4-year master plan to upgrade my RV to make life on the road with my 2 girls more pleasurable, easy, and enjoyable. So, what started me in this 4-year journey of improving my RV to make life on the road, traveling as a semi-nomad, as enjoyable and relaxed as possible? Well, stay tuned and you'll find out the 2 newbie disasters that started me on this path. Before I bought my used RV, I had grown up being a backpacker, a hiker, camper, and then later a car camper. Prior to buying my first ever RV, I had done months of research into which kind was the best fit for myself and my 2 girls. Once I got my older Class B RV, bought it, and brought it home, I was in a state of euphoria. I could not wait to go on our first weekend camping trip to a local national forest campgrounds to test everything out. The weekend went fantastic and the girls just loved the new experience. The stove had one problem with the burner, but everything else that I used seemed to work just great, and it was the best experience I had had in quite a while camping, especially the first time out in a used RV. Emboldened by this success, I decided to go on a 2-week road trip down through the Northern California redwoods. So I packed up for a much longer trip, loaded up the girls, and we took off on our first newbie RV adventure, thinking everything was going to be as great as our weekend trip was. All was going great. Everything was working well in the coach. The girls were excited to get out and explore every stop or camp we came to. We played on the coast, visited places I had known as a child traveling with my parents in the mid-60s, just to see if they still existed today in this modern world. Then, deep down into the redwoods, disaster struck. One night while boondocking, the coach battery went deader than the proverbial doornail. Not knowing squat about RV'N, I of course checked under the couch to see if something was stopping it from lying down. Then I started going through the old manuals that came with the vehicle. I finally surmised that, yep, the coach battery is dead. I had no choice but to throw down the spare blanket I had in the very narrow aisleway, and then throw down my sleeping bag and try to get some sleep, hoping that tomorrow, heading back home earlier than planned, I could find an affordable RV campsite with power to get the darn couch down into a bed so I could rest for the rest of the trip going home on a bed. Well, that night was the most sleepless night in my life, I think, with my 2 dogs walking all over me back and forth and trying to sleep next to me or on me. I must have gotten 4 hours of broken sleep that night. Well, heading home on 101, I did finally find a Ma and Pa RV camp which resembled somebody's backyard lawn off of 101. Luckily, they had power posts. So that night, I began to formulate my master plan of how I was going to upgrade and improve my RV to fit the lifestyle I wanted to enjoy on the open road with it. Finally, when I got home, I had one more unknown disaster waiting for me at the dump station, which I had not yet used before. When I pulled out my sewer hose, I was shocked to notice that something had chewed the end that goes into the sewer pipe totally off. Thinking I could just stuff it down the pipe and it would stay, I did so and pulled the gray water tank handle. Well, that went fine, so I thought, well, okay, let's pull the black handle. And when I pulled the black handle, well, those with experience know what happened then. Fecal Armageddon! I never moved so fast in my life. So, when I cleaned that up and I got home, I sat down in my living room and began planning out what became my 4-year plan of upgrades and improvements to my RV. Starting out, of course, with a darn new battery and a darn new sewer hose. As I took more shorter trips in my RV, I learned just what I actually wanted and was necessary in my RV for the extended road trips I had planned for the future. And I added those upgrades and improvements to my plan in phases together. Finally, by phase 7.5 and 4 years later, I had completed all my items on my list of what were necessities to me for life on the road with my girls as semi-nomads. Now we are ready to escape on our first extended road trip since the COVID lunacy impacted this nation years ago. Time to see what RV boondocking in a post-apocalyptic COVID world is like. What will it be like? Well, that's what we're going to find out on this trip. And if this trip is a success, it'll lead to many more in the future. Well, as you see, those two major disasters were, if nothing else but shocking, life-changing. And it started me thinking about just what I wanted to do with my RV and the plans I had for my future in retirement. I say to all you that are newbies to RVing, whether a motorhome like this or a trailer, to seek out those that have the knowledge and background from traveling in such vehicles to help you out with yours. Better yet, seek out groups of similar RV owners on Facebook and elsewhere on the internet for help and camaraderie. It's the best way I can think of to not have disasters happen to you as a newbie as they have to me. But at least you learn fast. Well, I hope you found my video both informative and, of course, humorous. And if you have, please hit that thumbs up button and leave a comment. And as always, the girls and I wish you happy trails and woof woof.